Welcome back to our channel. Today, we are going to recap a science fiction movie, Invisible Sue, released in the year 2018. Susanna, or as others call her, Sue, wants to become like her favorite comic book superhero, Supermoon. Other people don't notice her because of her weak presence. It doesn't help that her mother, Dr. Maria Hartman, is one of the greatest scientists alive. She is an incredibly successful geneticist and mutation scientist. However, despite all of these achievements, she doesn't have a good relationship with Sue, as she stays too busy to pay attention to her. Sue and her father, Christopher, organize a surprise birthday party for Sue's mom in her laboratory, while she introduces her program, NT26D, which is her scientific breakthrough in fighting diseases genetically. However, she gets abruptly cut off by a fire alarm caused by Sue and Christopher's birthday candle. When Maria expresses her disappointment, Sue realizes that all she could think of was her work. Out of anger, she throws the cake, which activates a piece of machinery that she's not familiar with. She makes things worse by pressing more buttons. An AI ordered her to leave the building immediately because it was closing down as an emergency measure. Afraid that she has messed things up, she goes to the closest machine and pushes more buttons in an attempt to fix things. She gets locked up inside and is sprayed with a blue liquid by the machine, emitting a blinding light. When the rescue comes, Sue keeps quiet and doesn't reveal what happened inside while being treated for her wound. That night, she dreams of her favorite superhero and has a premonition about what's about to happen to her. Christopher drops her off at school and tells her about his tour in Prague. While in school, Sue surprises herself when she realizes she's become invisible. She gets her visibility back when she washes her hand, but becomes invisible again when she dries her hand. Meanwhile, Maria is having problems because they have a conference in 2 days, but almost everything related to their project is destroyed. Sue comes to her and confesses that she can make herself invisible. The next day, Maria fixes Sue a drink to make her feel better and briefs her about the tests she'll be conducting on her. It turns out Sue can become invisible when she gets exposed to heat, while she becomes visible when she gets exposed to cold. This super skill also drains her energy fast whenever she's using it. Sue notices that Maria is fascinated with her newly found skill without considering her feelings. She asks her to make this stop somehow, but Maria orders her to stay at home and never tell anyone about this. However, Sue still goes to school. She becomes acquainted with Toby, the popular new student who asks her out on a date, and App, a girl from the robotics club who humiliates her bully. Maria's colleague, Lenia, picks her up from school so Maria can conduct some tests on her. It appears that some of the NT26D particles touched her skin during the explosion. During their experimentation, they discover that Sue can also make things and other people invisible by touching them, and that the NT26D inside her body is mutating. Seeing how fast it is mutating, Maria decides to destroy it, while Lenia pleads with her to rethink the decision. Sue begs her to not delete the data, otherwise she'll never reverse this invisibility. But Maria has made the final decision. Sue walks out thinking her mother doesn't care about her, and naps in the school because she feels incredibly tired. Sue meets App there and decides she'll reveal her secret to her because she needs her help. However, App thinks she's crazy and couldn't believe it at first until Sue proves it by getting back at their bully. That night, Maria tells Sue that they need to go into hiding as the world cannot know about NT26D. However, Dr. Drill, one of the scientists, discovers Sue's invisibility powers. Once they reach their home, Maria gets abducted by a group of men. While she's struggling to escape, she shouts to Sue to find Alfred and a red mask. These men were about to kidnap Sue, but she managed to use her invisibility to save herself. She calls Christopher, but he doesn't believe her and drops the phone call. She immediately leaves the house and goes to the school, where she sees Toby. She tells him about her situation, the invisibility powers, and her mother being kidnapped. Toby comforts her and calls her a superhero for having the ability to become invisible. Sue and Toby return to Maria's car the next day and are surprised to see App hacking a car and offering her help. With her hacking skills, they reach Drill Energy Corporation, and she reveals that Dr. Drill is the one behind Maria's abduction, so he can reproduce the NT-26D. Toby finds a bottle of blue liquid and a phone, so they immediately become invisible and leave the lab before Drill can catch them. App then comes on a tricycle and takes them to her mansion, where they meet her eccentric cripple aunt, Aunt Laura. She reveals to Sue that she used to go to university with Maria and Lena, but they eventually fell apart. On the other hand, App hacks Maria's phone and they see a video of her confirming that she has been kidnapped. Sue also finds the red mask inside her mother's work bag and meets the voice she's been hearing in the laboratory, Alfred. He reveals to Sue that Maria has been conducting secret experiments to find an antidote. She discovers that NT-26D only reacts to Sue's blood, since when Maria administered the NT-26D to herself, nothing happened. He also reveals that Drill is after her blood, as they are truly planning to make an invisibility serum, which places Sue in great danger. That night, Drill's people go to App's place to kidnap Sue, but sedate Toby instead, failing their mission. Sue and Toby had switched places to confuse them. The next day, App gives her a costume and a built-in temperature system that she can use to control her invisibility power with special additions like a bag that can keep her awake. While they're having breakfast, Maria manages to call Sue, saying that she's escaped and asks her to meet her in the old market. When they see suspicious men walking in their direction, Toby kisses Sue out of panic, only to see that those men are not after them. However, a little later, Drill comes. It is revealed that Maria is with Drill and she lured them into a trap. Sue is still not aware of it. With a stolen pizza delivery motor, they escape from Drill's men. Alfred points them to the place where Sue's mother was last seen. Toby insists that this is a trap laid down by Maria, but Sue can't believe it, as she is still her mother before anything else. Sue and Toby start to argue, and Toby walks out because of Sue's hurtful words. However, the moment Toby leaves, a group of drones pursue Sue and App, leaving them to hide in a small corner. When they realize that they've been discovered, Sue throws a small bottle of a blue liquid that turns out to be a small amount of NT-26D. Alfred tries to discourage Sue with her plan, since NT-26D is an explosive material, but she is stubborn enough to throw it at the men. It explodes right in their face, and she passes out. She wakes up in her room with Maria standing in front of her. Sue tells her mother about her kidnapping and Drill, but her mother dismisses it as a dream. Sue tries to go out through the door and the windows, but she's locked inside. Maria only went to her so she could know about Toby and App's whereabouts. Lena was pretending to be Maria. Back in the abandoned old market, App sees the real Maria, and they drive together to fetch Sue. Sue was hesitant to approach Maria at first, but she immediately embraced her when she realized it was her mother. Sue shows Maria and App the video that Alfred took of Lena, taking some of her blood and injecting it into herself, causing her to mutate and have a new power of her own. Sue discovers that her blood mixed with the NT-26D becomes a super serum, and it can mutate differently with each person. While they're on their way to the Halloween party, Maria reveals that Jonas was on their side all along. She also gives Sue an antidote, but she doesn't want it anymore as she thinks of herself as Invisible Sue now. Sue and App go to the Halloween party to save Toby, and Sue injects Lena with the antidote. Lena, on the other hand, changes into Eileen, Sue's bully who is dancing with Toby. Sue tries to rescue Toby, but he refuses to come as he's still hurt because of her words earlier. Sue apologizes to him, but Lena takes Toby as her hostage. Sue manages to inject the antidote into her, and they take her to the roof. However, they encounter Aunt Laura, the real mastermind behind this. She had kidnapped Sue's parents and wanted the NT-26D inside Sue's blood for herself. Sue threatens her that if she doesn't let her friends and family go, then she'll inject the antidote into herself. Aunt Laura warns her that she will no longer be Invisible Sue anymore and will have to go back to being unremarkable Susanna. Despite this, she injects herself with the antidote and pushes Aunt Laura with one of App's devices. She wakes up the next day with both her parents by her side. In the end, Maria's antidote was not as effective, and Sue regains her invisibility powers. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more movie recaps. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.